Hi, you're listening to Book Chat with author Vivian E. Moore.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Hello and welcome to Book Chat. I am your host, author Vivian E. Moore. I hope everyone had a great week and I hope you're having a great weekend. Welcome to today's show. I won't hold you for too long, but we're going to get straight to what we're going to talk about today. So I hope you're excited about that because I am as well. All right. So the title of today's show is Hold Up, Wait a Minute. And the topic is direction versus speed. I don't know about you, but has anyone ever said to you, you write like a second grader? Well, you know, that's a good reason to have that pointed out to you. I mean, it's not very flattering, to say the least, but sometimes it may be very needful, if not useful, information. And you know, no disrespect to second graders because we expect them to write like they're 8 years old, okay? Not adults, all right? So there is much to be said about writers who disrespect the craft when they hurry and not give each detail their full attention. And we know how important that is as writers, to be very directive, to be very descriptive in our writing because, you know, we're telling a story and that consists of words. It consists of characters and words and emotions and things of that nature. And so there are no pictures, you know, in a storybook. If you were a child or something, you know, reading Dr. Seuss or any other childhood book. These are, well, hopefully books written for adults or, you know, for young adults or, you know, whatever category that falls into. But still, you know, there is a way that you should write. So it tells the story. So the whoever's reading the book, they can visualize what's going on just by the way the story is written. And that's how it's supposed to be. All right. So, you know, if you are a true writer, I don't need to tell you that. You already know. Okay. So you know the importance of having a true direction versus speed. And I don't need to tell you, too, how time seems to move at warp speed. And we all seem to be in a perpetual rush to do everything, get everything done, with little time to stop and contemplate goals in a life that is filled with mad dashes to complete one task before moving on to the next goal. But the problem with that is that you are more focused on speed than direction. And this may not be an issue for everyone, but it is a major issue for writers. You know, sometimes you have to slow down and, you know, if I may coin a phrase, smell the roses, because that's important, you know, in writing and telling a story. You don't want to rush things. You know, you don't want to read a book and then you get to chapter 3 and you're already at the end of the book, unless, of course, it's a novella or something of that sort. But still, even with those books, they are paced and, you know, and the ending comes when it's supposed to. You just don't have to rush. There's no need to rush. Take your time and write the story and tell the story the way it should be told, okay? You know, understanding the significance of deadlines and how they impact the importance to meet those demands. But still, you know, sometimes we get so lost in translation. And if you don't take the time to focus on a story or the flow of that story, instead of how long it'll take you to complete the project, you're going to end up with a great big mess, okay? And writers know that great manuscripts require equal parts concentration and direction, and speed isn't part of this process. And I understand that if you are not a independent author who can write at their own pace, and don't have to worry about deadlines from an editor or from a publisher, giving you a certain amount of time to complete your story, to complete your first draft, second draft, whichever draft it is. You're not under those constraints to follow that timeline. So you can work at your own pace. But for those writers who are under those strict guidelines, sometimes they have to speed up, and again, like I said, things get lost in translation because of that. And I am a avid reader with thousands of hours of reading time under my belt. So trust me, I can spot a speedy end because of all the classic tales, okay? And even if I wasn't, a seasoned reader, even if it's someone who maybe just started out, reading books, they know the difference. I don't care if it's an ABC book, there's a plot, and, if the plot is rushed through, even they can tell. So, it's not going to fly across any board. People will be able to tell, okay? And there is nothing worse than a rushed ending. The plot is so thin, you can spit through it. And there is no clear path or direction, even when the writer thinks it's clever to zigzag throughout the story, just to lose you. And, and then you're lost for good, forever. And so it's like, well, forget the ending of this book. It's not even worth me putting any more time into reading it. That's just it. So, we don't want that to happen because, like I said, writers understand how long it takes to create a story and to write a story. And to have someone, maybe read the first few pages, maybe they don't even get through a chapter before they just say, okay, forget it. I'll just put this aside and move on to the next one. We don't want to do that. You don't ever want to lose a reader because you want them to be loyal and, to not only read this book, but read all the other books that you may produce later on in your career. So it's important to those first impressions are so important. So we want to make sure that we always make a good first impression. I don't care if it's your 50th book that you've written. There may be a reader that this may be their first time reading your work. And so it will be a first impression for them. And sometimes first impressions are lasting impressions in good and bad ways. So we always want to lean more toward the good than the bad. All right. This is just important. And I know I don't have to tell you this to those authors that are out there, but these are for newbies. This today's show is for newbies that really, really haven't polished their craft yet. They're more or less just writing test books to see how they fly, maybe to give them to friends and families. And sometimes, your family is not only up and up with you. Sometimes they will gaslight you all the way to publication, and then you find the truth once you publish that book and discover that it is not selling. Okay, and that's not the case all the time, but still, family, don't do that. Don't do that to the writers in your family. I mean, they may be true writers, and they may not be seasoned writers. They may be new writers. And so don't gaslight them. Tell them the truth. So that way, that constructive criticism will help them to better develop, in whatever area that they may be lacking, and, and help them strengthen their writing skill and their talent, because writing is a gift. I believe that. I've heard a lot of people say that, they ask people that are writers, and they have people who are non-writers ask them, well, how do you write? And a lot of them will reply, well, you just sit down and do it. Well, that may be true, but it is a little bit more involved than that, because you have to have engaging, interesting characters. You have to have a strong plot line. You have to develop a strong storyboard, okay? Because all these things are necessary when you're constructing this book, when you're constructing this story. that will later turn into a manuscript. And, you want to get those good reviews. You don't want to have a book that has, even though you've had 1,000 readers, but also you had 1,000 bad reviews, and that's not good. Okay. So, yes, you do want people to buy your book, not just to buy your book, but to enjoy it, to say good things about it, to say good things about the book, say good things about the characters, because, that to me builds self-esteem, and it makes you want to continue, your gift of writing. And sometimes even when you have produced A+ book, there are still people out there who will give you the thumbs down no matter what. So, you can't please everybody. First and foremost, you need to realize that. Just go ahead and get that over with and know that you cannot please everybody, because there will be, at least one person who will never like what you do, will never have anything positive to say about anything. So, those you just take them with a grain of salt, and then you just move on. That's what you have to do. So basically what you need to do is just to slow down, take your time, and develop a story worth writing and reading. You may be under strict constraints, like I said before, but direction will always outweigh speed, and it will. My mama always said, haste makes waste, and she did not lie about that. It is the truth. Even if you're not a professional and know your book will never make it to publication, still, it's good practice to slow down and plan the completion. Practice makes perfect. It does. You cannot perfect perfection, but still, practice does make perfect. Practice can turn into something that can make you a bestseller. You know what I'm saying? All right. So, by all means, practice, do those practice books, do those practice stories, and pass those to your family and your friends. Let them read it so you can get input, and just find out, if it's good or if it's bad. You want to know the truth. So basically, that's all I'm saying. But who knows, one day you may decide that you want to publish your work. And if you're an indie writer, it is more crucial to ensure that your work is solid, which includes editing. I don't have to tell you that, you already know, I'm sure. But if you want to be respected as a writer, then you must write like a pro. Remember, we earn respect. It is not given. So just hold up, take a few minutes to read what you've written, because direction will always be more important than speed in any situation. All right, folks, so that is the show for today. And before I let you go, I want to make sure I give you these URLs. Of course, the first one is the Spreaker. It is https://www.spreaker.com/user/author Vivian E. Moore. You can follow me on all social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Instagram is by invitation only. You can also check out my website. That is at https authorvivianemore.com or authorehshepherd.com. You can check out my blog. I hope you will. It is at https://vivianemore.blogspot.com. And if you missed today's live show, don't despair. Every show is recorded, so you can listen to those recorded episodes on Spreaker, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, YouTube, SoundCloud, Giles Savin, Audible.com, Verbal, spelled VURBL, and Luminary, and hopefully coming soon, Amazon. Books and music or whatever it's called, but anyway, it's on Amazon. So I hope that you will tune in again to next week's show. I do enjoy having these chats with you on a weekly basis, and I hope that you are enjoying them too, and that you are getting something from listening to these weekly shows. Okay, and tomorrow is worship day, so I hope you are preparing for that. And don't forget to invite your family, friends, and neighbors, and also bring those kids so they can listen to the sermons as well. There are a ton of things for kids to do at church, that is more along the guidelines of their ages, to keep them engaged, so they can learn about the word too in a fun way. All right. So, and last but not least, make sure that you tell all of those people, who you care about, how much you love them, because tomorrow is not promised. Today may be the only chance you get to say it. So I love you. I hope you love me back. Until the next time you hear my voice, God bless you and goodbye.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.